No one remembers me, not truly, not the way you remember Bilbo Baggins. Oh no. The great adventurer, the burglar turned dragon whisperer, the ring bearer, the legend. But me. I was just a face in the crowd, a name some found amusing, a glare in a peaceful village. My name is Otho Sackville-Baggins. And yes, I am that Sackville-Baggins. You may have heard of our family. We were always labeled as, let's say, ambitious, a bit possessive, perhaps. But we are hobbits through and through. We love good food, tidy hedges, and a proper sense of order. And I am remembered, if at all, as the hobbit who looked disapprovingly at Gandalf the Grey as he strolled into Hobbiton with his cart full of fireworks and smoke, charming the children and distracting them from their chores. That moment, that little wrinkle in my brow, it was captured, immortalized even. While he blew stars into the sky, I stood there with my arms crossed, like a statue of discontent in a world too loud for my taste. But what if I told you that moment was only the beginning? You see, I carry a secret, one so old, so delicately hidden, that not even the wise have spoken of it aloud. A secret buried beneath the very hills of the Shire. You think Gandalf was the only one with knowledge of the old world, of forgotten magic? No, my dear listeners, I too hold a thread of that tapestry. I wasn't always a frowning hobbit with a sharp tongue and a grudge against wizards. Once I was entrusted with something powerful. But before I unravel that tale, before I let slip the truth that could rattle even the bones of Bag End, I ask you for one simple act of kindness. Subscribe to Animated Legends TV, because it is here, and only here, that forgotten voices like mine may speak again. Here, the background characters step forward. Here, we reclaim the stories buried between the lines. So if you ever wondered what lies beyond the green dragon, beneath the hill, or behind the tightly closed doors of the Sackville-Baggins estate, then stay close. Because the fireworks show was just a distraction. The real story is about to begin. They say history remembers the victors, but what of those who stayed behind, those whose footprints are buried beneath the laughter of festivals and the quiet of smoking chimneys? I am Otho Sackville-Baggins, a name most of you will not recall, or if you do, only with a sneer or a raised brow, that hobbit who glared at Gandalf from beneath a wide-brimmed hat as he rolled into Hobbiton with fireworks for the children. Yes, that moment, frozen in jest and forgetfulness, has come to define me. But let me tell you another story, one long buried under the weight of legends sung in halls and whispered across campfires, a story that winds through the roots of the Shire and coils around the lives of Bilbo and Frodo Baggins like ivy on old stone. For I, the supposedly petty, envious cousin who so desperately longed for Bag End, held in my hands knowledge that could have sundered the fate of Middle-earth or preserved it in secret. And I chose the latter for the good of all hobbits, even those who mocked my name, before Bilbo ever vanished with Thorin and his company. Before Smaug's shadow was lifted from the lonely mountain, I had begun tracing the maps left by our grand-uncles and great-grandsires, maps that told of tunnels beneath the hill, of forgotten treasures, not of gold or jewels, but of knowledge and memory, relics of an age when even hobbits played their part in the shaping of the world. And Bilbo knew this. Oh yes, we argued in parlors and exchanged icy glares at family functions. But beneath that, all was a current, an understanding, a shared recognition that we were not just simple folk chewing on pipeweed and worrying about seed cakes. We were caretakers of something older than the party tree itself. The night before he left with the dwarves, Bilbo visited me, not out of affection, but obligation, and he gave me a key, small and silver, with an acorn etched into its head, and a note written in hurried ink, "Keep the root strong. If I do not return, let none enter the deep cellar." I knew then what he meant, the deep cellar beneath Bag End, long locked and sealed by our ancestors, not just for its wines and preserves, but for what it truly held, scrolls, tomes, and fragments of a language older than Westrun, the last whisperings of the green lore taught to hobbits in the elder days by wandering elves and rangers who remembered when starlight was the only light in Arda. I kept that key hidden in my waistcoat for decades, even as Bilbo returned and then left again, even as Frodo inherited Bag End, and I was left bitter, biting into cold apples and muttering at the injustice of it all. But still I waited, watched, and protected. When Frodo left with the ring, I knew what it was. I had read enough, overheard enough, and suspected more. He was brave, braver than any of us deserved, and I bore no ill will toward him, for in his leaving he reminded me of what I could never be, but also of what I had to do. And so, while the fellowship journeyed through fire and darkness, I stayed behind and tended the Shire with quiet purpose. When Lotho, my own son, became ensnared by greed and led the land into ruin under the thumb of Sharky, I wept not just for him, but for myself, for the name Sackville, now blackened by ambition. I fled into the old tunnels, the ones Bilbo and I had once explored as lads, and there I found the deep cellar again, opened it with trembling hands, and read by candlelight the forgotten verses of the Hobbreth, the Lay of the Green Flame, stories of hobbits who once spoke to Ents and walked with the blue wizards in secret council beneath the roots of greenwood. Yes, I know you never heard these tales, for they were kept from the songs of men and the lore of elves, preserved only in silence by those like me, the keepers who never left. And when the War of the Ring ended and the Shire was healed, I did not come out for praise. I did not attend Samwise's feasts or Mary's grand retellings. I remained in the quiet corners, repairing fences and whispering old blessings into the soil, planting seeds from a pouch given to me by an elven maiden whose name I swore never to speak, for even among the humble, oaths must be kept. I watched as Frodo sailed west, as Sam grew old, as Rosie passed on, and even young Eleanor took to reading tales in the twilight. And still I stayed, unseen, unknown, but always there, the shadow beneath the apple tree, the rustle in the cornfield at dusk, the soft voice that told children not to go near the old forest without a song on their lips. Do you remember me now? Do you question why the darkness never fully claimed the Shire? Why even when Saruman's agents came, they could not root out its heart? It was not just the courage of those who returned, but the watchfulness of those who never left, those who lit lanterns in the fog and kept the old stories alive in secret. So now I ask you, listener, reader, wanderer of stories, do you truly believe Gandalf chose Frodo by chance? That the ring happened to fall into a garden of simple folk without purpose? Or is there perhaps a deeper pattern, a hidden thread, a guardian no one saw? Ask yourself this: what secrets lie beneath your feet, under your very home, and what forgotten names whisper through the roots of your family tree? Have you ever wondered why some dreams feel older than memory, or why certain stories seem to know you before you know them? I have answers, but I will not give them freely, for stories have weight and names have power. If you wish to hear more, to walk again through the hidden doors of Middle-earth and meet those who never made it into the songs, then write your thoughts in the comments, share the questions you've long held in silence, and above all, subscribe to Animated Legends TV, for only through your voices can those like me be heard again, and only through your belief can the lantern of our kind continue to burn in the night. I am Otho Sackville-Baggins, the forgotten hobbit, the unseen guardian, and this is only the beginning of what you were never meant to forget.